Good evening, everyone. Let's go see how the delay is first. I don't know how long I was sitting around before I started talking, or if it started right when I started talking. That's something I'll find out after the live stream. It's been about 2 years since I had a live stream. I want to thank all of you for joining me tonight. I see there's people from all across the United States, even Canada, Arizona Coyotes from Phoenix, Crazy Cool Lady from Northern California. Ron's from Buffalo, Brooks Video from Kentucky, and there's some people from Canada too. I believe Robbie Strike is in the chat as well, which is awesome. Someone's from Russia, someone's from Chile. This is pretty amazing. I mean, before I started the YouTube channel, I think the only people that heard me talk about antennas was my immediate family members and the people that were lucky enough to get me to install their antenna before my YouTube channel blew up and I didn't have as much time. I'm assuming everyone can see and hear me well. I did invest in a better computer since the last live stream, so hopefully that has paid off. Some of you, I got to mention something kind of funny. So it technically has been 2 years since I've had a live stream on my YouTube channel, but there was one moment when I accidentally had a live stream I didn't know about. Did any of you see that? Because if you did, consider yourself very lucky. I'll tell the story real quick. So I use OBS Studio to basically screen capture some stuff from my YouTube channel every so often. Like if I'm showing, like a website or something, I can record what's shown on the screen. And there was one time, instead of clicking hit record, I accidentally hit start stream. And I didn't know about it. And apparently, my YouTube channel was connected to OBS and it started a live stream from my desktop computer. And I just so happened to also, like, whenever I'm working, I usually listen to music. I like to discover new artists. So I had decided that day to start listening and just kind of experience Nicki Minaj. So what happened was people got a notification on my YouTube channel that a live stream was taking place. And it was just my desktop, like it was just what was going on my computer with Nicki Minaj in the background. And I had no idea about it. I had no clue it happened until maybe a half hour later. I checked my email and YouTube had sent me, they sent me a few, they sent me a few emails that said copyright notification this, copyright notification that. Because of the music in the background, I was worried because if you do like intentionally do copyright stuff, they don't only just like demonetize you, they can sometimes give you a strike. And YouTube has a three strike system. You get three strikes, they'll delete your channel. I already have one strike just because I happened to record a TV on that had the World Cup. And YouTube, like I was just showing what the reception was like in my area, and FIFA put a strike against my channel. So I already have one strike, which is pretty crazy to say the least. So that's a funny story about the last live stream I did, and it seemed almost every time I tried to do them, my computer would just kind of die on me. It would sound like a spaceship, the disconnection, just a whole bunch of issues. Can everyone see and hear me well? I'd like to get some feedback from you. Do I look okay? Do I sound okay? Does the speech match my lips and everything like that? Let me know, and I gotta wait like a few seconds just because. Ooh, there's like very little delay. So I selected ultra low latency for those of you who are kind of technical, just so that there isn't much of a delay. You guys pretty much have me in real time. It might be like a 5 or 6 second delay, which is pretty cool. Hey everyone, you're seeing me pretty much in real time instead of before it was like a 20, 30 second delay. So yeah, that's a funny story I had about the last live stream. I'm gonna try my best to make this live stream entertaining. Occasionally, I see comments where people are like, "Oh, you're so boring, you're so monotone." And the joke I have is, I'm not Lester Holt, I'm not Jim Carrey, I'm not Chris Rock. If you want, a pretty face to give you news, if you want some comedy, you can watch them. If you want information about antennas, you watch me. And I try my best, but understand I'm not Lester Holt. So most of you are probably great. You're my true fans, but occasionally I get some critics out there that'll just, I've never been that kind of pretty face, all bubbly stuff. Otherwise, my YouTube videos would look like TikTok videos that, just all bubbly and all that. Nope. I'm just going to give you the direct facts and everything, just like a journalist would. So, yeah, in this live stream, I'd like to talk about my upcoming trip to CES. And for those of you who are not aware of what CES, I have a quick video I'm going to show to you. We're going to see if this works out on a live stream. First time I'm doing this on OBS Studio. When I went to CES in 2020, about 3 years ago. And a funny story about that was it was right at the time when my YouTube channel started to blow up, where I started to get a lot of following, good following, and important people noticed. And I was actually flown from Sinclair, the media company, to document ATSC 3.0 at CES in 2020. And right around the time my YouTube channel started taking off, and these people in charge of these big companies were like, "Hey, we'll fly you out to NAB. We have some ideas. We want to meet with you." The pandemic took place. And what was originally 2 weeks to flatten the curve, I'm sure you guys all know how that ended up. So I was just kind of like, oh, I had some stuff going and it was all canceled. But on the bright side, that stuff's been restarted recently. I got a lot of trips planned for the YouTube channel. I'm sure you guys will enjoy it as well. But without any further ado, I'm going to show a quick video just so those of you who are not familiar with CES can see exactly what it's like. So let's go see if it works.
Hey YouTube, it's Tara the Antenna Man, and I'm here at CES 2020 in Las Vegas, Nevada. CES is a consumer electronics show that takes place every year in Las Vegas. This year drew close to 170,000 people from about 160 countries, according to the CES website. I first stopped at the ATSC 3.0 Next Gen TV booth. Inside were displays showing various ATSC 3.0 products. FCC Commissioner Brendan Carr even made an appearance at the Next Gen TV booth.
What we're showing off here is the first time we've converged an OTT app with over-the-air.
Pearl, an ATSC 3.0 lab in Phoenix made up of these large broadcasters, showed off some interactive features on their demo. You can see the local station's live broadcast with additional content such as latest headlines, weather, and investigative reports. SK Telecom showed off a 5G ATSC 3.0 hybrid implemented in a car that provides real-time map updates and some live TV for the backseat passengers. WePro displayed a TV and cell phone dongle that picked up ATSC 3.0 broadcasts.
This show is just absolutely enormous. I mean, I can't even put into words like how big this show is.
Alrighty, so that was CES in 2020. So those of you who aren't familiar with it, you can see it's a very big trade show. And there's just about everything available technology-wise. And when I was there in 2020, I was kind of just under pressure. I mean, I wasn't necessarily obligated to, but I felt, kind of obligated to get as much footage as possible of ATSC 3.0 Next Gen TV tech, since Sinclair had flown me out there to kind of, document it. So this year, I'm on my own for the most part. I can get whatever I want. There's not much pressure. So I'm going to get a little bit of everything. I'm going to try to get some Next Gen TV tech and antenna tech if there's enough antenna companies out there at CES. I do know that Televis will be there. I believe RCA will be there. I'm not sure about Antennas Direct, Winegard, and Channel Master. I reached out to them, but it's, like Christmas break holiday. So they haven't gotten back to me yet about that. So I'm excited. I have that trip planned out to Vegas. It's pretty much all my own dime. The only exception is Televis was able to get me a pass to get in, but everything else, hotel, airfare, I covered all myself. Mainly because it's going to benefit you guys. It's for the YouTube channel. And if you guys have any things you want me to cover at CES, just let me know and I'll try my best. But I'm excited. I'm going to be, documenting it, just kind of showing what's going on. There will probably be some cool new ATSC 3.0 devices. Hopefully they make it to the market, because 3 years ago you saw that cell phone dongle I documented. It's still not there. And all the markets they said that were going to go live in 2020, a bunch of them never went live. In Philadelphia, they've been saying that ATSC 3.0 is coming this year for the last 5 years. And I'm like, will you stop breaking your promises? It's almost like a contractor saying, oh, I'll be there next week. No, oh, sorry, this came up. I'll be there next week. I'm like, guys, like, get your stuff together. So, yeah, I'm excited about that. And, yeah, another thing I wanted to also mention was the future of my YouTube channel, some changes in the new year. It's all going to be good stuff, but I currently have a content manager, a channel manager from YouTube, Google, that's going to just give me direct advice in terms of how to optimize the channel and give you guys what you want. they're not in charge of it. They're just giving me advice so they can tell me to do something. I can tell them to go, blow smoke. I'm not going to do it. But it's good to have, a professional to kind of just look at the analytics of my YouTube channel in addition to myself to kind of see, how it changes and all that. Another thing that I'm doing, and this is going to sound crazy. I just kind of made fun of TikTok a few minutes ago, but I am making a TikTok. I actually included a link to it in the description. The reason I'm making a TikTok is because TikTok has a very young demographic. It's basically millennials and Generation Z, and they haven't really been targeted in terms of broadcasters. Like, antenna companies haven't really targeted them, and they're not aware of antennas and the fact that you can get, channels for free with an antenna. So I'm taking it upon myself to kind of spread some of my videos in short TikTok form on TikTok to hopefully spread the word about antennas. So that way, over-the-air TV doesn't end up like AM radio, in 20, 30 years. Because the fact is, broadcasters are not targeting these millennials and Gen Z. And they're not aware that you can get all those free channels with an antenna. And as I said, if they don't target the younger demographic, in 20, 30 years, there's going to be no one left watching it. It's going to basically be AM radio. I bet the FCC will sell the rest of the TV spectrum to cell phone companies. And I don't want that to happen. So if you guys have TikTok, make sure to follow my link in the description to follow me on TikTok, and be sure to spread the word. Tell if you have any children, grandchildren, nephews, nieces, tell them about my YouTube channel, just because there's no reason to pay for free channels and stuff like that. So at this time, I'm also going to move on to discussions about ATSC 3.0 Next Gen TV, but I'm going a little bit too fast, and I'm not acknowledging you guys as I should. I have been looking at the camera and just kind of maintaining my composure to be more Lester Holtish, if that's a term, and less bland. I'm Tyler the Antenna Man for you guys. But I can see the chat window now. If anyone wants to throw a question out the way to just kind of, start the conversation going, I'm totally up for it. Someone asked about a Discord server. I'm not too aware of that, of how it works. That's something I can look into just out of curiosity. So I'm sure I always kind of had the idea to have like a forum, kind of a website where people could just kind of discuss general antenna information. I mean, AVS Forum is a really good website that has forums, based in each market. So you can go to Philadelphia, you can go to New York, and see what the reception is like there. And a whole bunch of people will comment about reception, all of that. Good question Gary has. What antenna do you use? And this is really gonna blow all of your minds. So most of you would think, I'm Tyler the Antenna Man. I have to have a really good antenna in my house. The fact is, I don't watch much TV. So the antenna I have on my house is usually the last antenna I reviewed or just did whatever with. I don't have a specific model that I use all the time. Right now, it's a Televista Nova Mix because I made a video for Scripps, the free TV project. They wanted me to make a quick demonstration video of it, so that's just sitting on the pole. But I don't watch much TV because the content has been getting kind of worse and worse. There's still good content on there, and it's definitely worth having a good antenna setup to get these free channels. But as a person who's very busy with my YouTube channel, my time is dedicated to help you guys, and not so much to sit in front of this TV for hours. So I'll maybe watch like a little bit, maybe like an hour a day, I'd say. But for the most part, I don't really make it a priority to get as many channels as possible. I'm seeing some ATSC 3.0 questions. That's very, very interesting. So Timothy asks, when will companies finish encryption of their new ATSC 3.0 boxes? This is a very tricky situation. So broadcasters have announced they intend to encrypt their ATSC 3.0 signals, and that does not mean they're putting it behind a paywall. They're just doing something that I don't know exactly the full reason. It might be to potentially prevent recording or rebroadcasting. It's probably to stop illegal IPTV services. But the issue is a lot of companies, or not a lot of companies, but some companies need to update their encryption, and it's to be determined who has the encryption key and who doesn't. I'm not going to name names because I can't tell. I don't want you guys to quote me and I say, for example, this tuner doesn't have it yet and it might not have it because I could be wrong. Most of them are fine. If you notice, there is a tuner that constantly has been delayed. It had a pre-release and it's just been delayed and delayed. There's a chance that they'll eventually have it solved, but it's kind of a mess right now because the standard was barely finalized, all the dynamics of it, and it's a lot. I always say it's the very, very early stages of this thing. And, there's only a few reasons to switch to an ATSC 3 tuner, which I'll explain in a bit. But I do like this discussion. I saw a few questions about that. It's definitely my cup of tea, the ATSC 3.0 stuff. I think I saw someone, I'm scrolling up a bit, so I apologize if I missed any of you guys. ATSC 3.0 tuners need to get to $100. And I agree with you on that perspective. The problem right now is it's a simple issue of supply and demand. There's very few tuners on the market. And as a result, the companies are not going to make it really, really cheap because there's not much competition. It's kind of like 1997 with HD TVs. You're not going to find an HD TV for $100, $200. You're going to find them in higher end sets. And if you're lucky, you can find an external tuner, but I don't even know if they really had them back then. If I can recall, they would put the digital tuners in the high end sets, so you bought the high end sets. So because we're in such the early stages, it's like a chicken and egg issue right now. Like, companies don't want to make tuners until there's demand for it, but consumers don't have demand for it unless there's cheap equipment, affordable equipment, unless you're an early adopter or you don't mind spending, a couple $100 on a tuner. But I always found that interesting, and it's history in the making, because I was alive for the original digital transition in the 90s and stuff. But, as a 5-year-old, I couldn't really follow this stuff and know what happened. I had to look at stuff in the past and that kind of jazz. Someone asked, when will ATSC 3.0 come to smaller areas? That's going to be a while, to say the least. It's going to roll out in larger markets. I'm taking a timeline from the 90s as comparison. So in the 90s, the digital ATSC 1.0 was launched, and it was launched in larger markets. So I believe Philadelphia launched theirs in like 1998. You didn't see it in the smaller markets until like 2003, 2004, 2005. So by comparison, I'd say it's probably going to be about 4 or 5 years in smaller markets. The issue is this isn't a government mandated transition like the last one. This is just deployed by a few media companies that happen to have patents or interest in it. I know Sinclair is pushing it out because they have patents tied to it, and Nexstar is pushing it out. I have a bad feeling about why Nexstar is pushing it out. It's probably to put some stuff behind a paywall, but that's the main thing, is the government's not saying that TV stations have to convert. So as a result, it's going to be, a little bit different. Someone asked, do broadcasters need a new antenna for ATSC 3.0? Let me first say, there's going to be some misinformation spreading the whole way there was with digital antennas, HD antennas. There is some misinformation about next-gen capable antennas. There is no such thing. Please understand, if you learn anything from my YouTube channel, let it be that an antenna is an antenna. It's designed for frequencies. Don't buy an antenna specifically because it's an ATSC 3.0 antenna. That isn't really a thing. But to answer your question, broadcasters don't have to change the antenna. Broadcasters do have to do some kind of upgrade to the transmitter, which isn't too complicated. So the issue is, it's not like a broadcaster just, upgrades their equipment and, installs an update and that's it. There's a lot of red tape in terms of a market launching. So for example, let's say you have a market of 5 TV stations. In order for one of them to launch next-gen TV, they have to find a home for all the current channels, because they're not going to be broadcasting in ATSC 1.0. And because the government sold a bunch of the TV spectrum to cell phone companies, in certain areas, there is just literally no room for them to launch. That's the issue in Philadelphia and New York. And on AVS Forum, some fellow antenna nerds like me were trying to speculate what TV station will launch it. And we almost came up with no solution, because we said, okay, well, if WPHL can't launch it because they have a channel share, NBC 10 can't launch it because they have a channel share, KYW can't launch it because of this and that. And it was just really, really hard to figure out a solution. It's really been delayed. It's been slow to roll out because of the last FCC repack. When you sell a third of the TV spectrum, it's just, there's not enough space to launch new things, including next-gen TV. So I found that pretty interesting. Corey, yeah, Nexstar, I'm sure if there's some executives watching it, I do appreciate your deployment of next gen TV, but your company has ruined the TV stations in the Scranton Wilkes-Barre market. You destroyed a newsroom. I am not happy about that, and I am surprised that the FCC has not, limited the stations that your company has purchased. I mean, I'm really surprised about that. Any other tech nerd would understand what I'm talking about. Most of you are probably like, what's he talking about? I'll explain in a future video of mine. They're pulling some other stuff and coming soon, possibly taking away the streaming of local newscasts, the live stream on their websites. So that's something else I'm gonna do some digging on. It's not confirmed yet. One website said it. I have to get confirmation that definitely is going to happen. But if that's the case, the local TV stations are not offering the real-time live stream in the hope that they'll make more money from cable and satellite services. And when that happens, you're no longer operating the public interest. When you have a license for a TV station, you're supposed to be operating the public interest. And when you're taking those things away, you are no longer doing your public obligation. And that's what watchdog groups, that's what Department of Justice and the FCC is for, and they're just kind of letting it happen. So, if it seems like things are starting to go that way, I will definitely try my best to spread awareness and get action, stuff like that. But this isn't about Nexstar and a multi-billion-dollar media company that is sucking the life out of local TV stations. It's about antennas and all of you guys, and I want to appreciate each and every one of you for following my YouTube channel. I know some of you don't even have antennas or already have a good antenna setup. The fact that you follow my YouTube channel makes it so that way my videos continue to be recommended to people who are not aware of the channel, and it can help them cut the cord and stuff like that too. Charlie has a good question. ATSC 3.0, is the content going to be different than ATSC 1.0? And if not, why bother? So, ATSC 3.0, there's going to be no difference in content, at least for the next 5 to 10 years. When it launches in an area, it just takes a few of the TV stations that are already in ATSC 1.0 and puts them all on one RF channel. And the picture quality isn't necessarily better. There is no 4K over the air. I actually have a video on, specific reasons why you should and shouldn't get a next-gen tuner. But 4K isn't available over the air, and it won't be around for a very long time, probably 5 to 10 years. And when it does take place, I have a minor prediction that some networks might charge a fee for it. If they have the base model where they have, okay, you can get 720p, or they might even dumb it down to standard definition, like, oh, you want HD, that's $5 a month. You want 4K, that's $10 a month. It's not 100%. It's a minor prediction I might have. If you think like a multi-billion-dollar greedy corporation that doesn't necessarily care about the consumer and only about their bottom lines, what would you do? So, Johnny, yes, WPVI should go to ATSC 3.0, but Disney owns WPVI, and owned and operated TV stations don't seem to be interested in next-gen TV. I think they should do it because they could finally get ATSC 1.0 off that trash low VHF signal and make it so that way people could actually get in the market. I mean, it's ridiculous how bad their signal is. Even today, I had 3 people that I had recommended an antenna for, and they got the signal, but it still puts up a fight almost every time you try to get it. And that there's no excuse. Disney is a $75 billion corporation. Can't act like they can't figure something out. They got to get their stuff together. I mean, I know why they haven't really done much about their signal. I think a lot of you guys do too. But it'll bite them in the butt at some point. People are just not going to watch 6ABC if they can't get it over the air. Philip, I appreciate your super chat. Let me go read your question real quick. Said, I have a question about digital channel versus virtual channel. Sometimes I turn on the TV, certain channels will come through the digital channel instead of the virtual channel. So that happens sometimes. So what Philip is saying is, let's say you have a local NBC4 in your area and it broadcasts on UHF channel 30. Sometimes the TVs will show 30-1 instead of 4-1. So instead of showing the virtual channel, it shows the RF channel. That happens usually in one of 2 cases. The first case is if the signal is weak and it's cutting in and out. Sometimes your tuner won't register the virtual channel and it'll go back to the RF channel. And the other reason is if you're getting duplicate channels. So let's say you're getting NBC4 and you're getting a repeater of NBC4 as well. Your TV will get confused by the 2 different, the conflicting virtual channels, And what it'll do is it'll just show, one as the RF channel and one as the virtual channel. So that's pretty much the way it goes. Thank goodness none of my stations are low VHF. Most markets don't have low VHF, and frankly, there's a reason why most countries don't have it. It's just not good now. 6ABC, it's not 100% their fault. They ended up thinking that it wasn't as bad as it would be, and that they could. Another thing they were worried about was it's 6ABC, and the whole philosophy that 6ABC would be broadcasting on UHF channel 27 kind of concerned them that some TVs wouldn't show channel 6 and it would completely destroy their big legacy brand of 6ABC. We eventually found out that's not the case. Almost every TV set, except in rare cases, will show the virtual channel and you won't even know what RF channel it's on. So they opted to stay on low VHF channel 6, worried about that, thinking, oh, it can't be that bad. And it was bad. It's pretty dang bad. Let's just go say that. I'm not even exaggerating. 6ABC may be the worst signal in terms of a major network in the whole country. And I have facts to back that up too, why it's not just me speculating or having hatred for 6ABC. I mean, it's just such a bad frequency, and they're in a large market. A large market should not have a major network on low VHF. So that's about that. Is that Mr. Beast? Mr. Beast, I don't know if that's real. I don't know if that's actually Mr. Beast. I would be really surprised if Mr. Beast is watching my YouTube channel. I don't know if that's actually you, Mr. Beast. I think it's probably someone else. Appreciate the super chat. If the biggest YouTuber in the country is watching my YouTube channel, I mean, congrats to your channel, man, but I'm pretty sure it's just someone taking their name. Someone asked, what's the best antenna I can buy in the USA? I have a video on that. There is no one antenna that's the best antenna. If there was, you would hear me backing it up and saying this is the best antenna and working with the company. The fact is, it really depends on the frequencies in your area, because you don't always want the most direction, the strongest antenna, because if you have stations from slightly different directions, you might want a medium-sized antenna that's slightly more omnidirectional or multi-directional, stuff like that. I do have a general list. I'm not just going to kind of beat around the bush. I have a general list of recommended antennas on my Amazon page. If you go on any video of mine and look in the description, I have a list of general recommended antennas, and they're sorted from like lowest to smallest. The low end one is like Clearstream 2 Max, Televista Nova, small directionals, and the medium directionals like the WineGuard HD 7694P, Televista Ellipsis Mix, and then the large, I'm talking like an auctioneer now. The large directionals would be like, Telvis Long Range Mix, WineGuard HD 7698P. I think there's a few others in there. So I kind of briefly summarize what there is no one antenna that's the best. Depends on your situation. But you can narrow it down to like 10 models if you follow my link in the description or just watch my videos and all that jazz. So yeah, just went through a lot. Let me go read some of your questions and stuff like that. Fritz asked, when will some of these stations actually broadcast in 4K? And again, this is another video I made. Make sure you guys go back on my channel sometimes. I don't expect you all to be going through my library of videos, but definitely go through sometime once in a while, because I actually have a video on this topic. The reason why we're not seeing 4K over there and we're not going to see it for a while, it's a combination of a few factors. Even though, consumers would like it, broadcasters don't have much of an incentive to upgrade all of their equipment for free. Basically they're not going to get additional revenue over the air unless they can charge for it with ATSC 3.0, which we may see. The main issue is there's not enough free TV spectrum. I mean, the FCC sold a big chunk of it to cell phone companies. And now if you have next gen TV launching in an area, there's not enough room for anyone to go 4K, because you have like 4 or 5 TV stations on one RF channel. And until ATSC 1.0 shuts down, which is probably going to be 10 to 15 years, it's going to be a while, there's just not enough room. And who knows, the government might sell more TV spectrum than cell phone companies, and that'll throw, a monkey wrench in the whole situation. 4K for the most part, YouTube TV is the main source to go to. I don't like to promote a paid service, but YouTube TV does offer 4K content. It's a pretty good service. But in my opinion, 720p looks fine, 1080p looks fine. Yeah, if you're a tech nerd and you're looking closely, yeah, you can see pixeling, but it's not like you're going to be hosting a Super Bowl party, and you're going to meet people like, oh my, that's 720p. This person is so poor. It's not 4K. No, no one's going to notice. I mean, I've had people who have 4K TVs and they're like, look at the beautiful 4K. And I'm like, it's not 4K. It's up converted 1080p or whatever. So I always thought that was interesting. The funny thing is, I have a little note, I have a little cheat sheet things I'm looking on. And one of the things I was going to talk about was ATSC 3.0. And it seems like we actually covered a lot of that stuff. The only thing I was going to also mention, which I haven't mentioned already, was that ZapperBox. I'm actually going to be reviewing ZapperBox next month. It's a ATSC 3.0 tuner that actually connects directly to your TV set. I originally thought it was a network tuner like the HD Home Run, where you had to, connect it through your antenna, and not your antenna, connect it through your internet service and get a separate streaming device, which makes it complicated. I was like, why doesn't anyone just have a tuner that you can connect to the TV? ZapperBox does, and it's actually available. It's no longer for pre-order. You can actually just order it. It's about $200, and I'm going to be reviewing it. I did set it up in one market. The issue is next gen TV isn't in my area, so I had to travel outside my market to kind of like test it out. But even then, there was only like one station that had it, and it wasn't even that good. So I'm going to be taking it with me to Vegas and also Miami in a few weeks. So I will give you guys a rundown on that tuner, and I'll tell you exactly what it is. It seems like it's all right. Zapper. So Gary asked, will Zapper do recording? Right now, it won't, but I've been told by the owners that at some point they plan on rolling out the feature with an update. Let me go see. Have I heard of On TV? Yes, that was a video I made in the past about paid over-the-air TV services, and they all seem to fail every time they try. The only difference is when networks don't have to. It's hard to explain. They fail if it's a company that does it on their own, like for example, if it's a company that's trying to get a whole bunch of channels and charge for them over the air. But if it's a network that already has an over-the-air signal, let's say ABC, owned by Disney, and they put ESPN on it for an extra fee. You can tune into ESPN if you pay a monthly fee over the air. That doesn't cost them really anything. So as a result, it's just potential income is really, really good, and they don't have to worry about all these other crazy costs. It's great. So Robbie Strike. Oh, I'm so glad Robbie Strike is in this live stream. If those of you who haven't checked out Robbie Strike, he's basically the Canadian version of me, but instead of antennas, it's satellite, free-to-air satellite, which is very underrated. Free-to-air satellite will work basically anywhere. You get a free-to-air satellite dish, you get the receiver, and you can access dozens of channels. I'm not sure exactly how good the content is. It's getting more and more limited as time goes on. But you can get, channels. So if you're in like a complete dead zone, you get nothing with an over-the-air antenna. Free-to-air satellite, you can get the channels as long as you don't have too much tree coverage around where the satellite dish is. The satellite dish has to have, a clear view of the sky. And I'm sure Robbie Strike can expand more on that and stuff like that. So, well, let's go see what else do we have. Hi, Derek. Hi, Monty. Hi, Bill. There's so many questions. When I'm hosting this, I just see so much come on, and it's just like once in a while. Russ, if you are at CES, I am gonna post something on my YouTube channel when I'm at the next gen TV booth, so look out for that. It'll probably be Thursday around like maybe 11 noon, and I'll just make a post for any of you going to CES that I'll be there. And if you want to, meet me, if you should check out the booth anyway, there's going to be some cool tech there. Definitely there. So I don't know if it's D Josh or D. Yeah, it's got to be D Josh. I'm sorry, folks, I'm not Lester Holt. He asks, when will ATSC 3.0 start in Canada? I'm not sure if it's going to ever be a thing in Canada. There's a lot of issues with over-the-air TV in Canada. I may complain about Nexstar here, but Canada, it's way worse when you have these media companies shutting down transmitters and leaving people in the dark, and your government organizations just like, whatever, what are we doing? What are we supposed to do? You pay us your tax dollars, and we're just not going to do what we're supposed to do. That happens a lot. That happens in America all the time. But like in Canada, it's pretty ridiculous. Over-the-air TV, for those of you who don't know, in Canada, in the United States, in a given city, you get like hundreds of channels, maybe not hundreds, but dozens of channels, because TV stations have sub channels. In Canada, they don't have sub channels. It just seems to be like they don't want to embrace over the air TV. They want to hide it. They don't want you to get your signals for free. They want you to pay for a cable and satellite service, because a lot of them are owned by a cable and satellite service, at least in the United States. And maybe these big media companies that are trying to get money out of the cable and satellite services, but at least it's not owned by them themselves, except Comcast. But to my extreme surprise, Comcast has been decent with over-the-air coverage. They have really put an effort to putting in over-the-air signal, because to my surprise, they are smart enough to understand, unlike another media company I'm not going to name, is that you need to embrace over-the-air, because if you don't, the viewers that use an antenna are just going to stop watching. It's not like they're going to pay for the signal if they can't get over the air. They'll just say, whatever, I'll live without it. And if you don't embrace that, you're going to lose those viewers. And eventually, again, broadcast TV will be AM radio one day if they don't embrace it. And thankfully, Scripps is embracing it. Sinclair embraces it. Nexstar doesn't seem to be embracing it that much. They're embracing ATSC 3.0, but I think for other reasons. Perry Sook likes to eat steak and lobster for dinner. So, all right, let's go see what other questions we have. Hopefully I sound all right for you guys. You know, when I'm talking too much, I either sound like an auctioneer or I just rant and stuff like that. At some point, I'm going to make fun of myself on the YouTube channel. I'm going to have like Lester Holt. I'm going to do like a Photoshop of Lester Holt and be like, this is Lester Holt. For those of you who think I'm too boring, Lester Holt. Yeah, let's go see. So Air TV products, someone asked about the Air TV products. They're a good deal, but they definitely are buggy, and that's because Air TV is owned by Dish Network, and they mainly made the Air TV units to push the Sling TV streaming service. It's not so much that they're focused on the DVR portion. It's mainly to get people to integrate local channels with Sling TV. I personally have the cool thing about the Air TV, which is a secret for you guys. I did mention a few other videos, but you can access it outside of your house. And what you can do is what I have set up here. My dad lives in a complete dead zone. I mean, you get a few channels over the air, but it's a complete dead zone. I'll tell you guys a story about that in a second. I have an Air TV set up at my house, about 50 miles away. He can access my antenna channels through the Air TV, and there's no monthly fee or anything like that. So in theory, what I like about Air TV is, let's say you don't have reception at your location. Do you have a friend or relative who has an antenna, or at least lives in a good reception area? You set up an Air TV at their place and then just sign into the account at your house, and then you get those channels. You know, it's the ultimate solution for people in a dead zone who at least have internet service. And yes, it is buggy, but it works as a basic, thing. It works, so I'm happy about that. But yeah, give me a second. I'm just gonna get a drink real quick because my throat is pretty dry. So time for the awkward silence. Someone asked about ATSC 3.0 and better signal coverage than ATSC 1.0. It's a yes and no question. It depends how broadcasters deploy it. When I tested out ATSC 3.0 in Pittsburgh, I noticed that the ATSC 3 signal of at least one of the stations was very easy to pick up. I was able to pick it up when I couldn't get any 1.0 stations. But the thing is, there's a lot of different factors that go into an ATSC 3.0 signal. It's not just concrete. This is how it's broadcasting. It's robust. They can make it. There's an inverse relationship in terms of like the data and how far the signal goes. So for example, if a broadcaster wants to broadcast a 4K signal or a 1080p signal, it might not travel as far as an ATSC 1.0 signal or a next-gen TV signal that's broadcasting 720p. There's a lot of different factors that go into it. I noticed in a given market, there's like 4 or 5 stations that broadcast the next-gen signal, and you have like 1 or 2 of them that'll be like 720p, really strong, robust signal that's easy to get. And then others will do like 1080p. I haven't tested a 1080i signal, but the 1080p signals tend to be a different layer. I don't know the exact technical science behind it, but it's a different layer, encoding thing where it doesn't travel as far in favor of higher resolution. It's all just testing out. The cool thing about next gen TV is what broadcasters can do is they can offer, a high quality signal. So let's say a 4K or 1080p signal that is maybe a little bit trickier to pick up, but if you have a good antenna setup, you can get it. And then they can also offer like a 720p or standard definition signal that may not have as good picture quality, but it will travel further. So if your antenna is not as good, it's kind of like on YouTube and even this live stream, where if the signal is low, it'll just reduce the picture quality and at least you'll still have it. With the current system, there's no wiggle room. You either have the signal or you don't. If the signal is low, the picture quality doesn't get reduced. It just breaks up and stops. So that's the issue with ATSC 1.0 right now. So yeah, I mean, that's pretty good too. One thing I do want to tell you guys about is how I got into antennas. Some of you probably saw my interview or Lon of Lon.TV interviewing me, how I got into antennas and how I ended up in this situation. I'll try to explain it in less than 5 minutes. Give me a second to get another drink just so my throat's not dry. All right. So Reader's Digest version of how I got into antennas, my timeline. So when I was 5 years old, there was a TV set in the sunroom of my parents' house, and it was an old TV from the 80s. And just as a kid, I was more of a tinkerer instead of a guy who wanted toys. And I plugged it in, turned it on, and played with the knobs like a kid would, and it was picking up a TV station, even though nothing was plugged into it. And that fascinated the heck out of me as a kid. I couldn't believe that, people were plugging a cable into their TV when it could be picked up just like invisible airwaves. It just fascinated me. So I was in kindergarten pretty much at the time, but my grandmother used to give me report card money if I got good grades, depending on what grades I got. So it tried me to do well in school. When I was 8 years old, I got my first 5-inch black and white TV, and I was so excited to, plug it in at my house and get all those TV stations that I got in the Poconos. We were up on a mountain. I was able to get a whole bunch of, I recall like seeing a whole bunch of channels. And right when I got that TV, my parents decided to move to a very, very, very bad location, surrounded by mountains in a valley, 60 miles, 70 miles in broadcast towers, pretty much no reception. And it was unfortunate because I was like, I have this TV, I'm trying to get something, I can't get anything. And so throughout the years, I took it as a challenge to kind of just try different antennas. I made my own with aluminum foil, just to see what I could savage, whatever the word is, what I could just get over the air, even though the signal was very weak. And so throughout the years, I just experimented and I got a whole bunch of antennas that my father, God bless him, he let me put them up on the roof. I had a little J pole I put on the side. And I tried different antennas and I understood that some antennas worked well for channels 2 through 13, while others worked better for channels, 14 and above. What I didn't realize was my grandfather was a TV repairman from the 1960s all the way to the 80s. And he used to install antennas. I didn't know this until maybe a few years ago. So it's almost like in my genetics to be fascinated by antennas. But long story short, I was going to get into video broadcasting in college. I actually did. I have a degree in video production. I was going to work for TV, but unfortunately, the big media companies like Nexstar are really sucking the lives out of TV stations. I wanted to be a person behind the scenes. I wanted to be a person who kind of just recorded the video and edited it. But what these media companies are doing, because Perry Sook likes to eat lobster for dinner, is instead of having three separate positions, they have one position. So a lot of the reporters you guys see on your local TV stations, they're called multimedia journalists. And they have to produce, write, report. It's basically four jobs for the price of one. I told myself I'm not doing that. I know my self-worth, and the starting salary was so ridiculous. It was like $25,000, and I'm like, no, I'm not doing that. Nexstar is a multi-billion-dollar company. I'm not going to work for them if they are going to pay me peanuts. No, they can go get these interns out of a college to work for them. I'm not going to do it. So I started filming weddings and events as a local business I had. And I started installing antennas on the side too because I was in an area, I was now in an area where reception was feasible. And I felt like I understood what the people were going through with the high price of cable and satellite, and I just wanted to make a difference because people are paying thousands of dollars. People still are paying thousands of dollars a year for local TV channels that are available free over the air. So I started out, putting out. Now I started installing antennas locally in one area, and I moved to another area for privacy reasons. I'm not going to mention what areas they are, but I started putting content on YouTube too. Originally, I was a Grubhub driver, and I just posted Grubhub videos. And there was one day I wasn't satisfied with the subscriber base I had, so there was one day I said, I'm just going to put out random content and see what sticks. So I put out, just random stuff, and one of them was a video on like some antennas I'd recommend. And I told myself, and this is what I actually told myself, and without sounding too like ignorant or arrogant, whatever the term is, I told myself, there's no way this is going to take off. Americans are stupid. They would rather pay for things that are free. I mean, just look at the political landscape. The average person is like a fish. It's not going to take off. But I was like, you know what? Let me go try it and just see if, people actually watch the video and use an antenna for local TV. I think they're going to want to have pay for things that are free, but let me try it anyway. And sure enough, that video got the most views out of any video I posted. So I started branching off on it. And I was really surprised to learn because at the time, like maybe 5 or 10 years ago, the viewership of over the air TV was declining. It went from like, it just started dropping because of the digital transition. Some people probably lost, channels and just gave up. But to my surprise, it has grown to about 25% of Americans use an antenna for local TV. And that's a very good number. It's up from like 12% 10 years ago. So that just means that people are understanding and discovering the benefits of free over the air TV. And again, it's not necessarily king, it's not necessarily the best thing ever, but everyone likes their local ABC, NBC, CBS, and Fox stations for local news and sporting events. And why pay for them when you can get them for free? So eventually my channel gained traction and I was able to monetize it. And now it's the main way I make a living. I don't even really install antennas anymore. I just focus on the YouTube channel because I'm so busy with it. And then that antenna recommendation service I have, I help people across the whole country cut the cord. I'm sure most of you have seen me promote that in some of my other videos where, I run the reception report at a person's location and tell them exactly what they need. And it's hard to explain. Like I can tie almost any reception report to a situation I've been in, how almost 100 antennas have performed for those frequencies. And it's all in my head. I wanted to hire someone to do it, but there's no way I can train anyone to get the experience I had to understand that, oh, there's a low VHF signal that's going to be trash, or look at the terrain of the area and the signal path. It's a whole bunch of work that actually goes into recommending antenna. It's not just what frequencies are in your area. It's like what's the tree coverage, what's the actual signal path, and how many TV sets are you connecting, how tall is your house, all these factors are taken into consideration. So I've been busy on that, but I'm very thankful to all of you because if it weren't for you guys, I wouldn't have this right now. I'd probably be working, filming weddings like I used to, doing Grubhub, and I was a little fat. I used to be a little fat a few years ago. If you guys watch some of my older videos, you'll see I had a puffy face and stuff like that because I used to eat a lot of fast food. I've been working out. I'm on a diet now, so I feel like I look at some of my older videos, I'm like, man, why did I how did I not break the camera? So I'm very happy about that. I'm not trying to talk myself down, but if you guys ever want to take a look at some of my older videos, just see like the puffiness of the face and the redness and the hairline, all of that. I was like, man, I did not care how I looked back then. At least I do now. So um, but yeah, that's my story. So if any of you weren't aware of it, now you are. That's how I got into antennas. That's how I became the antenna man. Pretty much the antennas and subjects of over-the-air TV weren't really tapped on YouTube. There was Danny Hodges has a channel about how to make antennas. So that's something, but there wasn't really much, at least from a person with a marketing and journalism background, to really dive in and make this thing. And I know I can do better, but I just choose to do what I can do best. The only way to make it like even better is if I start like selling out my channel and getting people working for me. And I'm not trying to do that. I'd rather just do it on my own, have complete control of the channel, seeing what you guys want. I can look at the data, see what videos you guys like, what subjects don't do well. So that way I can make videos and I know exactly what you guys want. If it gets to the point where I make a video, I know if it's going to do well, if it's not going to do well, because I know exactly what you guys want based on the data and the analytics YouTube shows me, so I'm very happy about that in terms of, what I got on my channel. So enough about me. What about you guys? You guys have any other questions? I'm probably going to wrap this live stream up in the next, I'd say 10 to 15 minutes. I do enjoy talking to you guys, but talking for like an hour straight really wears you down. Hopefully I sound all right still, but I feel like my brain starts to become mush at that point. I don't know how public speakers can do it for so long and just go on these live streams forever. And the newscasters at the local TV stations, the next stars are making them work, they're adding all these newscasts and their paycheck's not getting bigger. So these anchors are just stuck at the anchor desk from 4 p.m. to and then they have a 7 o'clock news, and then they have a 10 o'clock news and 11 o'clock news. And it's like, man, no wonder why they look so exhausted. You're making them do all this work. So what is a good DVR? DVR, it's all about personal preference and, budget. I do like the Tableaus are pretty good. I do like them. TiVos work pretty well too. Each of them have their pluses and minuses, just like antennas. I found overall the Tableau is like a good safe bet to start at. TiVo is good if you're familiar with it. It has some really cool features, but it's more to be directly connected to a TV, while the Tableaus are more designed to be like network tuners. They do have ones you can connect directly to the TV, but I'd say Tableau is best as a network tuner approach. And then of course there's that converter box that you can use as a DVR. That's very basic. So that, it all depends on what you're looking for in a DVR. John, thank you so much for the super chat. I appreciate you saying hi. 60107. I'm not sure exactly what area that is, but it's probably somewhere in the central United States, I'm guessing. So appreciate the feedback, and definitely send me an email later if you want, say what's up and everything like that. Let me see what other questions. Got another best antenna question. You're asking the question that I wanted to bring up in a future video, and I will bring it up quickly for those of you who are watching a live stream, watching this live stream. I don't want to say it's confirmed. There is one article that mentions it, and I want to do some digging to make sure that the article I'm referencing is accurate. But Nexstar Media Group owns about 200 TV stations nationwide. There's a good chance one of your local TV stations is owned by Nexstar Media Group. They announced, at least in an article, it said that Perry Sook, the CEO, plans on getting rid of the live streams of the local newscast. So, for example, most times you can live stream a local newscast on the website or on the app. Apparently, and again, I have to confirm this before I get into too many details. Apparently, Nexstar might be getting rid of that in favor, and it even mentions in the article, and he said himself, to help with the cable and satellite negotiations and retransmission fees. And that is such a red flag that I really hope, and I need to talk to someone about this, because the regulators and the FCC and these watchdog organizations, this should be a complete wake-up call for them when you have a multi-billion-dollar media company buying local TV stations that are supposed to serve the public interest. And they take away, and again, this is not confirmed, I just need to confirm it, it's most likely, but not 100%. If they take away viewers' access to those local newscasts in the event of an emergency, that's incredibly dangerous. And again, this is something I have to figure out what the call to action is, because this is like a serious call to action. This is just very, very bad. If Nexstar wants to pull these moves, they shouldn't own a local TV station. They shouldn't have a license for a local TV station. Give it to a company that actually, gives a damn about their viewers and not just their stockholders. So got that going. But that's my little rant about that. And you guys will see that in a future video of mine if it's confirmed. It's not 100% confirmed. I saw one article about it, and I'm not sure if it's accurate because I haven't seen this website before. I'm going to reach out to Nexstar for comment. They probably won't give me a comment. So if they don't give me a comment, I'll just have to say this might happen, even if it's completely false. If they're not going to tell me anything, I can't confirm or deny, what's going on. So Natalie, you ask, is there a way to use beamforming to combine two antennas? I'm not 100% sure what beamforming is. If you're talking about combining them on the same coaxial cable, there is a new combiner which I'll review sometime in a few months once it's spring. Televis has released a new combiner. It's called the SmartCom, or Rotor Killer, SmartCom. It's about $200 and it has up to 3 inputs you can put on 2 or 3 separate antennas. And it automatically takes the best from each antenna, the strongest RF channel, and filters it out. So pretty much you get the best signal by combining antennas without any insertion loss you'd get with backwards two-way splitter, and you wouldn't have to wire them separately. You wouldn't get the multipath interference. So that is a really cool thing that's going on there. Jeff, I appreciate your super chat as well. I do think HD Home Run is very good. It's a little too technical for, I mean, I could probably understand if I dug into it, but I haven't really dug into it as much. I probably should sometime in the future. I know people are very happy with it as a DVR and as a tuner. I just kind of concerned. I noticed some videos that are too technical on my channel don't do well. So my concern is if I, they do an HD Home Run video, it's a technical video, people don't watch it, and it kind of flops. So that's my only concern. But I will look at the data and definitely consider reviewing it in the future and stuff like that. So yeah, but I'm surprised that that topic came up. That question came up about Nexstar potentially getting rid of the live streaming, and this is just bad. I mean, if you guys understand what I'm saying, that the TV stations are potentially getting rid of the option to live stream. I'm not talking about their whole channel. I'm just talking about the newscast, the important thing, their public obligation. Getting rid of that. That is like, hello, FCC, like Department of Justice. Do you not see what's going on? And then I have to spend time to figure out what's going on, expose these corrupt individuals. Why aren't you doing anything? And get people involved, call to action. Because if that's what Nexstar does, is they slowly do these things to at some point there's just going to be no over-the-air TV. They're just going to put everything behind a paywall, and that's my concern with next gen TV, is that they might be doing that. Can't quote it. I'm not a fortune teller, but I have my suspicions. When a company takes away over-the-air repeaters in my area, shuts down a news station, lays off staff every time they buy a TV station, and potentially stops streaming a local newscast, you tend to think they might do crappier things in the future. So, yeah. But I need to stop ranting about these media companies. They just make my blood boil, guys. I mean, you got to understand the industry I was getting into pretty much got destroyed by a lot of them. So, and Nexstar is the king of them. Let's just say that. And they're not 100% bad. I mean, they do some good things. So as a journalist in me, I can say that there are some benefits of Nexstar. That Nexstar does do some good stuff. They do produce decent local content. They do have, in addition to their local newscasts, they have usually public interest programming. They have been a proponent of ATSC 3.0. They, I don't know, maybe that's about it. But there are some bad things that all companies do. If I was interested in, I don't know, computers, I'm sure I could find bad things that computer companies do as well. So thanks so much, Crazy Cool Lady, for the super chat. Yeah, over-the-air TV is very important for just the whole country. It needs to be an option. And when these companies start doing sketchy stuff, the whole reason the FCC was here, and before 1996, those of you, actually give me a second, I'm going to get a sip of water real quick. So before an act called the Telecommunications Act of 1996, there used to be limits on how many TV stations a company could own a market, because if they owned too many stations, there would be monopolistic power and a whole bunch of bad things would happen. And they got rid of that, and ever since then, it's been just kind of going downhill in terms of the protections that should be in place for the consumers. TVJ, that's my concern. There is no FCC requirement to stream a newscast. So I don't know if there is exactly any kind of like thing they're violating by doing this. It's just kind of a really, really crappy move. I'm talking about Nexstar potentially taking away the live stream of newscasts. It's just a really, really crappy, like really, really bad move. And it just shows, where their priorities are. It's not to the general public, it's to their shareholders and their bottom line. And that just blows my mind, because I don't feel like the live stream of newscasts is going to impact retransmission fees. I feel like if people want, an NBC5 and they can't get it with an antenna, they're not just going to live stream the newscast. They might pay for the streaming service or whatever. But I don't think, if someone loses their local newscast from Nexstar in the area, that they're going to get cable or satellite. I think they're going to just, not watch the local newscast, which will probably be my call to action. That video, I'll be like, if your local TV station takes away the live stream of local newscast, just watch the other local newscast. So, Yeah, any other questions? So I'm going to wrap this up in about 5 minutes. I will take a few more questions, so start typing them up, and if you're lucky enough, maybe I'll see your question. A lot of them come up all at once, so I'm not ignoring any of you, just whatever my eyes see. All right. Old Radios has a really funny quote. How do you know a politician is lying when their lips are moving? It's just like a teenager. How you know a teenager is lying? It's when their lips are moving. So that's pretty funny. Analog TV, Bell Systems asks about analog TV. Um, Give me a second to think about this. So analog TV shouldn't have gone away. What should have happened is it should have remained on the low VHF band because low VHF is not ideal for digital TV. I think it should have remained. I think each market should have had at least one TV station that, if they voluntarily wanted to stay on a low VHF band to broadcast in analog, kind of as a way for a twofold, like for two reasons. First reason would be people in very rural areas and very mountainous areas that can't get a digital signal could at least get the analog signal. So, if NBC 28 wanted to step up to the plate, have a low VHF analog broadcast that would grab some of the antenna viewers in rural areas that can't get a digital signal, they would have that benefit. The other benefit would be for emergencies. If there is, very bad weather and a person doesn't really have a good antenna setup, if they had analog, they'd have some static, but they'd at least be able to hear it and probably see a lot of stuff going on. While with digital, it would just be kind of, stopped. And in my opinion, analog should not have been shut down until we had a better TV standard than ATSC 1.0. I mean, ATSC 1.0 is just very fragile. I made a video recently about how, a decision was made to use a less robust modulation code that made it so that it was fragile. And it really left people in the dark when digital transition took place, and that shouldn't have happened in a country like the United States of America. But again, if you just follow the money on any issue in the United States, it's usually politicians and lobbying and all that stuff. So I won't get too much into that. But let's see if there's any other questions. Um, I don't know if ATSC 3.0 will improve low VHF enough for it to make a comeback. The issue with low VHF is just lots of interference and noise, and the noise is just getting worse and worse as time goes on. I mean, if I was watching low VHF here, if I had 6ABC, just LED lights, a power adapter for my laptop, all that stuff interferes with it. I do think next gen TV will improve the signal. Whether it'll be enough for it to actually be like fully reliable, it's to be determined because the only stations that have next gen TV on low VHF are the Franken FMs, and I don't really have a way to compare that with full powered stations. If trash 6ABC's signal becomes low V, or if 6ABC's signal becomes next gen TV, I'll be able to have a direct comparison. I could say, hey, I barely got it when it was 1.0, but in 3.0 it's crystal clear. For now, I don't have any comparisons, so I can't really tell how it's going to be. I would think it would be better, but it's also the proximity to the FM band. It's right next to the FM band, so if you're next to an FM radio station, which there's plenty of almost everywhere, that potentially impacts reception, and makes it so it's not as easily picked up. So yeah, Gary says, actually, Bama fan says ATSC 3.0 is a joke. I wouldn't necessarily call it a joke. It's just more like it's taken a while for it to roll out because, again, selling TV spectrum to cell phone companies, and it's a voluntary transition. It's just going to take some time. It's not going to be, it's not like every place is going to have it tomorrow or even next year or even 5 years from now. It's interesting to see the progress, but I predict like in the future. One thing I was going to mention was the ATSC 3.0 does open the doors for more subscription-based over-the-air TV services. Like I see ABC would probably offer ESPN for an additional fee, and then I could also see Nexstar, which owns a bunch of TV stations. They also own News Nation, so they could say, "You want News Nation? Tune to channel 6.3 and type in your credit card information to sign up." I could see them doing that. That's my prediction. So I think that's pretty interesting. So, all right, guys, I think I'm gonna wrap up this live stream. I do appreciate all of you who watched and everything. Those of you who are watching on the replay, I forgot to mention, I had it in my notes. Today is Sunday, January 1st. It's now about 7 p.m. I occasionally get people that watch my live stream years later and they think it's live and they'll actually be like, hi, I can hear you fine, everything like that. So I was supposed to mention that at the beginning, but those of you who stayed tuned to the end, I do appreciate it and everything. I'll keep you guys posted if I have another live stream, but just make sure all of you are probably subscribed to my channel. But if you hit the bell icon, you'll actually get a notification when I post new content. I'm going to make a video on CES 2023 next week. I'm going to make a video on how Ivaca, went out of business and other paid over-the-air TV service. I'm going to talk about the Nexstar issue with them potentially stopping the live streaming of local newscasts. So, there's some good videos coming up on the channel. But again, I appreciate you guys watching me. Thanks so much for tuning in and bearing with me. I'm sure when I watch this, just to see how I did, there's going to be some things that I can improve on. Hopefully, the most part, I did all right. Hopefully, there weren't too many technical glitches. I saw someone mention that there was a audio sync issue and all that, so I will look into that if that's the case. But thanks again, guys, and I hope you have a great night. And look forward to my video this week on CES.